And three, two, one.
Check, check, check. 1 2 1 2 1 2. Diamonds hang around my neck, the crib is all finished. No love for these bitches, I said this year it's all business. It is a shame that a couple of them are off limits. No offense to my nigga. It's just the industry small. We all lust for the same women. You know, the ones we saw before we.
And you're back. What up, bro?
How's it going? I'm back.
Good, dude. No, that was perfect. You gave me enough cheers.
Got the cheers.
Don't judge me because it's Dunkin' coffee.
Hey, everyone's got their forte.
Everybody's got it. It plays a role.
I'm not one of those people. Like, a lot of people put a lot of hate on that whole, like, all the coffee people put a lot of hate on the Starbucks and all those drinks. I'm like, whatever makes you happy. Everyone's got their thing. Like,
it's funny because it's like fashion, high low. I'll do high low coffee. You know, the coffee I have upstairs. My wife's Colombian, so we get a lot of our coffee from there. And it's my god, that's like dessert to me. That coffee, delicious, man. And this coffee, this is like just cold brew. That will get me going.
Just starts the day.
Yeah. All right. So let's hop into it, bro. Thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate the invite. Always interested in talking and doing extra stuff.
So why don't we do this? I have a lot of questions because I've been following you for a while. I think you're dope. And what I want to do now is kind of like, let's just hop into, who are you? Kind of introduce yourself to the people. We could keep it at the surface now because we'll go through layers later. And then we'll see where this conversation takes us. Cool?
Awesome.
Sweet.
Yeah. Start?
Oh.
Yeah. So on a surface level, just a young guy, super interested in art design, major sneakerhead, always been interested in coffee. At the moment, going to school for industrial design. So got the design background. I've always wanted to end up there. I'm always been following my mom. She's been a creative director and graphic designer for many years for multiple companies around Toronto. So I've always looked up to her, watched her do photo shoots, do details, do all of these things, and went to expos and things with her, and it always kind of just pushed me where I wanted to be. I'm the third of three boys, so the record goes usually the third is the most wild and the most creative, and that is definitely the case with us. My oldest brother is the complete opposite, so that's pretty funny how that works. But pretty much, yeah, just super interested, creative guy, wanting to do a million different things at once. My brain's moving 1,000 miles an hour, and
I love it.
That's pretty much it. Yeah.
I love it. No, dude, I'm so interested. Let's hop into a few things here, right? Because I'm interested in the sibling conversation. I'm an only child. Well, I was an only child. Yeah. I have a younger brother, so I'm the oldest. Okay. But my brother is 10 years younger than I am. So what's the age difference between you and your brothers?
Not too far off. My oldest is 8 years. And then middle brother is 4. So there's a gap in between both of us.
Got it.
But it's literally an exact spectrum. My oldest brother is straight to the books, like math, science. He's an accountant.
Oh my god.
He's doing all that stuff.
Yes.
My middle brother is part crazy like me, but part logistical as well. He's a big car guy. He works at he's a car salesman, does a lot of stuff. He's in a lot in that industry. And then there's me, complete opposite. Zero math skills, not logical. No, not that, but very creative, very outgoing. So it's pretty fun. Yeah.
Are you the only one with facial hair, or is everybody else?
Oldest brother has never had a beard in his life. Completely against it. Middle brother tries, but he sucks at it. I'm the only one that can actually do it.
Yeah, it's crazy how predictable it is.
I look the oldest. It's so funny too.
It's so crazy because I'm the oldest. So I talked about this in a previous episode. I'm the oldest, right? But if you were to meet my parents, you'd be like, "Where did this kid get sent from?" Because my dad's like much shorter, quiet. My mom is kind of like my mom's a little bit out there. So I think that's the blend right there. It's quiet and it's in space. So it's like
that's the same thing. Like the spectrum between me and my brothers are my dad rolling into my mom. My mom being creative, crazy, outgoing, loud. My dad is very calm, cool, collected. Like
Well, is your dad artistic also? Because I mean, you said your mom's the no, he's not.
No, very to the books. Very
to the
books. And very analytical.
Got it. It's so crazy. That's so interesting. So, dude, two of the so first off, like I want to know, like you're crazy, you said. So, so you're joining a podcast that like literally no one's listening to right now. We're just starting this off. I greatly
Yeah.
appreciate that, right? And I
Hell
think
yeah.
that one of the things that I love about just doing this, right? Just being like, all right, fuck it, let's do it. Is that I get to have conversations like this. And it's a great excuse to connect with people who I admire,
Exactly.
people that I want to acknowledge. I mean, you're in Toronto, you love coffee, you love sneakers, you love culture, you're autistic. You're literally like, you should be my best friend.
Checking all the boxes.
Yeah. Oh my God. It's like, this is the star interview. You're the celebrity of the fill in the blank. If we end it today, it'll end high. So we're good.
Hell yeah.
We've already won. So the conversation's like already sweet.
We're on a high note.
Yeah. So this is what I want to do. I want to say, look, I like sneakers too.
Ooh, yeah. 750, very cool.
Talk to me about that, right? I think that we can blend a story about your journey as to, I mean, industrial design, you obviously have an eye.
Yeah.
And then, what about the sneakers? What about fashion? Because for people who haven't followed this guy, Coffee and Kicks, I mean, the aesthetic, I mean, your pattern is very, awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
You remind me a lot of an Alfie Friday. Do you follow him?
I'm friends with Alfie Friday. I've hung out with him multiple times in person, which is awesome. He's a really cool dude.
I love that. So so it's funny, right? So we have a common friend.
Kind of side note, I actually met him because I commented on one of his photos and he saw I was from Toronto and he was like, "Oh, I'm coming to Toronto. Like, what are you doing?" Stop. And I was like, "I'll show you all the places. I'll show you all the places." He came. We were hanging out for like a week straight, which was really awesome. And then I ended up going up to New York a couple months later, did the same thing. Yep. He's a really cool dude.
Yeah, he's really
Sorry to butt
really
in there,
cool.
but yeah, he's awesome.
No, it's perfect. I mean, I had a project, I think about a year ago, and he was one of the people that I wanted to be involved in that project. It was called Hack and Hustle. I was basically, so I'm in the cybersecurity industry, right? And I'm a Puerto Rican kid, just like him, living in, the U.S. And I wanted him to be like a guest speaker. I wanted him to talk about his journey because, when you talk to this guy going from the Verizon store, working sales to where he's at now, art director, creative director for these big brands, and his style is so dope. So I sat with him for like 2 hours. We had iced coffee and just shot the shit. Like that was the original. Yeah. I was like, this guy's dope. So we've always stayed in contact since then. His content's amazing. And that's kind of how I think I found you through him or something like that. I think that's might have been what it was.
Probably, like we piggybacked back and forth for a couple of months just because we were like posting a bunch of similar stuff and we're just chatting and doing all this stuff. I haven't talked to him in a while, obviously, because of this whole situation, but he's always there and he knows whenever I'm in town, I'm coming to say bye, and he's doing the same thing.
Yep.
So can't wait to come back. But yeah,
I love that, man. I love like the whole little like community that you guys got going on. It's dope.
Yeah, it's super cool.
And especially, I mean, the coffee scene in Toronto is just so awesome. I'm in town. Yeah. I used to be. I mean, I traveled a lot for work, right? Cool. I did a lot of stuff with Ryerson. I did a lot of stuff with some of the banks.
Oh, cool,
there. Yeah. And some of the
doing like actual cybersecurity or like learning and teaching.
No, so like actually like selling them stuff.
Oh, okay, cool.
So I sell stuff so they can secure their networks.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, so you go to school there. There's obviously a million different Wi-Fi things going on. There's a lot of big network because you guys are all over the place. They want to make sure the bandwidth is there. So I kind of help them measure that. So that they can control it. Sure. It's very nerdy industry, but dude, I mean, it's I'm kind of a nerd at heart, but I get to wear a hoodie because my people are just kind of
exactly. That's the vibe. Yeah.
Yeah, and they always take me to coffee shops. I mean, in the beginning, it was like the standard. I would go to Tim Hortons. I would take the place right by Ryerson. I forget what it was called.
Page One, maybe I think it's called one of them. There's another one I know. I remember the name. Anyways, yeah.
Anyway,
there's a couple of them in there, yeah.
Yeah, and then I would just start following you guys and see where you guys were going. So then I would just basically be like, all right, cool. I think I hit you up once. I was like, yo, let's meet up in Toronto.
Yeah.
Let's grab coffee. Show me some spots.
That was what was I doing that weekend? I was fully planned to get going, and I think something happened.
It's all good. Now
that cheesed me because I remember that morning I was getting ready to go downtown and something happened at home, and I was like, it was one of those like parents parents out of the blue were like, oh, we're going to do this today and you have no choice. And I was like, oh, come on. I had all this stuff planned. It was one of those situations.
It's all good. I mean, every time I'm there, I find something new. You know, it's seriously one of my favorite cities. You know, you mentioned your love for New York before we got on here.
Yeah.
And like, that's like a second New York for me, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, and I got New York in my backyard. I love it. There's always something new to do. And all my buddies are there. But Toronto, I mean, I love it.
I think it's just like the big city mentality. You want to be where everybody is. And for you, since New York is so close, Toronto seems more impressive, but I'm the opposite. I'm always thinking about New York.
And it's only an hour flight, if even, 45 minutes.
Yeah, nothing. I think it's like, I think just over 45 minutes, which is unreal.
Cool. All right, man. So let's hop into it. So tell me, you know, kind of how did you get into, like, you said it was always kind of from the beginning, right? But I guess what started the artistic journey? How did it translate into sneakers? Did you freeze? Or are you still there? And we're back. You were frozen for a minute, but it's all good. That made the dramatic beginning of your story that much more dramatic.
Exactly. Had to get the cybersecurity guy to fix the situation.
Yeah,
collaborate the skills in order to overcome.
That's just what I get. I mentioned I'm in IT and the computer freezes. Like, I'll show you. So talk to me, bro. Talk to me a little bit about kind of, you know, what got you into, you know, was it the eye? Was it something that inspired you very young? Kind of, you can go into that, and then how it translated into sneakers and coffee, and then, you know, what that's doing for you.
Yeah, I mean, like, touching upon what I said before about my mom, going into design was kind of just like always a goal of mine. So I always really had that pathway. Everything I sort of did over the years kind of just was another step towards fulfilling that goal and getting towards everything I wanted to achieve. I think coffee and sneakers just kind of like puzzle pieced in there, because it's like aesthetic design, architecture and space, and as well product and functionality and footwear and fashion. Like, those things all just are in the pathway of design, which kind of all coexist in the same space. So I think it was kind of just natural the way they all connected. Sneakers particularly, like, I've always been a super big sneaker guy. I do have to say I wasn't like super adamant on like Nike. I wasn't really collecting at a young age. That only started maybe like halfway through high school. I kind of started going like, oh, I see this everywhere. Oh, this is hard to get and people want this. Before that, I was kind of just buying what I liked, kind of buying stuff that I saw that other people had that I really liked.
The collecting mentality? Like, were you collecting baseball cards? No, okay.
Oh, to an extent, yeah, very like random things. I wouldn't say to the extent of like sneakers and like searching something out. It was more of just like, if I came about a couple things that were similar, I'd like call that a collection or something like that.
Yep.
So yeah, like, growing up, like, I was really into like Supras and Vans. So everyone at school loved Supras, like the high top, flashy colors, like DCs. I wore a lot of DCs, Etnies, a lot of those skate shoes. Never had SBs, which is hilarious now that SBs are crazy.
Really?
I'm like, I never had any. Never. I had nothing. Like, I'm a young guy. I'm only just over 21. So like, I was born midway through SB boom, so like, I can't blame myself. Like, I can't even say that
SBs for me were like the max.
Exactly.
Right?
Like,
I mean, I was a skate kid. I'm 33, so I'm older.
Yeah.
And
I'm just learning about this stuff now.
Skate culture was huge. I mean, you know, ES, Etnies. I didn't have really Etnies. DCs. Like, I brought on my links in the last episode. Brian Wenning for me was a big like. Being from New Jersey, you know, skateboarder, his sneakers were so dope, you know, and that's what really got me into it. There were DC Mantecas, there were DC Links, and I forget what the other ones were. And I was big into Supers also, like the patent leather ones, like all of them.
Yeah, all the crazy colors. I think a big part of that was like, in Toronto, there was one store called, I think actually still there, it's So Hip It Hurts. They were the only store in Toronto that sold Supras.
Oh, really?
And it was kind of a thing. Like, I live just outside of the city. I live in Vaughan area, so it's about like an hour drive. It's not too far. Just traffic is annoying like crazy. Yeah. So it was like, everyone at school had this shoe that you can only get in this one spot that was like sort of eye like popping blues and reds, and people
Yeah.
have different crazy colors. So it was just like, oh, okay, you got to go there and get that shoe. That's kind of how it evolved for me. And I think that was just the beginning of me understanding how the influence of a shoe had on other people, because like you saw somebody with this really awesome pair of sneakers and I was like, I can't get that. I want that really badly. How do I get that? And that's kind of just, that started like at a really early age, but the whole collecting and the whole like design wise and kind of understanding what was actually going on behind the scenes with Nike and Adidas and all these brands only really happened in high school, when I started honing like what design actually was and what I understood it as, and as I learned like the actual like details behind it. So I guess that's where it kind of evolved from. But from that, it just kind of spiraled. As soon as I got my
you
first
look at
shoe,
sneakers a whole different way now. How you used to look at it. I mean,
it's
are
crazy.
you looking at, are you going down to the stitch? Are you going down to like how detailed? Like when you look at a shoe, what are the things that you appreciate?
It depends on the shoe. Like
Yeah.
you take something from like Virgil, obviously. For me, that's like the most pleasing thing to look at, because every literal stitch on that shoe has a meaning, has a purpose. It's representing something. It's conveying some sort of theme or feeling, which is incredible. Like I have got all my favorites of the 10 just because it was, I knew that it would be a staple and I'd want those for the rest of my life, which is amazing. But then like you look at something like the Mars Yard, which is my favorite shoe of all time. And it's not only just about the material used and how it was executed, but really like the idea behind it, what it's supposed to mean, because it's all about Mars, like a Mars rover, about being on space. Like the shoe's not going on space, but it's the thought of like, this is what an astronaut would be wearing in his prep, going to Mars, being on Mars, like the overshoe. This is what a Mars Yard, a spaceman would be using on Mars and stuff like that. So it's like
Virgil,
there's both sides to it. Yeah,
he's a big inspiration, because I mean, I'm very attracted to people's communication styles. I think the way people use language to create or to paint a picture, he's one of the best. I frequently watch his interviews on YouTube, where he's going over kind of like what his process is, right? How his bullet points are, like, the 3% difference, the this, the that, and the storytelling, which I'm noticing is like the thing I love most about most people, is their storytelling styles and the way they can create meaning, they can redefine meaning, and they can kind of make people get behind that, right? It's just, he's done that.
And the most powerful collaborations, the most powerful artists have been able to do that very successfully. Like, and have been able to like create a want out of nothing, or out of something sort of material that people wouldn't have noticed just by looking at it in the first place.
Yeah, and
like
it makes total sense. And I wonder, sometimes like within a business context, I definitely had like coming up, being a young salesperson, you mimic a lot of different people's styles till you find your own.
Yeah. I feel that.
In art, did you find yourself, like when you look at your early art or your early photography, did you find yourself trying to mimic and then find your own voice within that? Or how did you think about that?
I think like you kind of hit it on the head there, the nail head right there, because it's like you can only really mimic until you know what you want to do. I grew up just like recreating my favorite artists' works and just painting my favorite stuff that I was interested in, stuff I couldn't really get on my own. So I think that had a huge part in developing like my personal art style. Like apart from industrial design, apart from sneakers, coffees, I'm a big painter and stuff like that. So I do murals a lot. As it was like a summer job for a couple of years, just because like I'm young, I make my own hours, I make my own invoices, I take as long as I want, get as creative as possible. People kind of give me the freedom to do whatever. So a big part of that was just imitating my favorite artists and taking their styles, adding my twist, adding my own color palettes, and executing on my own. And that kind of was what evolved my own style. And I think I kind of have my own favorites now, which is how I kind of roll, which is awesome, because like that's exactly how it happens. Like just watching people I really admire and just putting my own spin on it, which in a sense is everything. Like there's the whole joke about Virgil being a super big copycat, and him taking all of these things that were already popular or just retwisting something in a simple way. But in a sense, he's the one that was able to execute it. He was the one that able to put the story together, build the infrastructure in order to make it happen. So you got to give him some credit for execution rather than the fact that he took this inspiration.
People the blueprint. That's why I think some of the best people give their shit away for free.
Yeah.
Because they know that 99% of the people aren't going to do it, aren't good enough, don't have the talent to do it in perpetuity. And I think that that's one of the things that Virgil is much bigger than clothes. The vision is much bigger. And that's why when he gives you the codes, it's kind of like you can apply that to different things. I could apply that to a business email. I could apply that to a business presentation, right? I think that is something that people can use, and that makes and if you're in that conversation, something good's going to happen, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You're not in the micro of like, okay, year over year, this sneaker didn't, you're not there. You're much bigger picture, and I think that it shows in where he's at. And obviously being surrounded by how do you think about that, right? Being surrounded by, we talked about Alfie, but how much do you look to your influences and just hang around them just to kind of get inspo that you wouldn't get just staring at your shoes in your room?
Yeah, exactly. Makes total sense. I mean, like, totally agree, to be honest. Like, it's everything can be pulled from everything, and I mean, you can't really blame people for pulling inspiration from either totally abstract or just in your face ideas. So, I mean, like, it goes both ways.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
Makes total sense.
Yeah.
I love it. So from a guy who literally can barely take an iPhone photo, your photos are dope. I don't know.
All of mine are on an iPhone, so
are they?
Every single one.
That just shows
every single one.
I could be wearing Roger Federer sneakers, but I'd still suck at tennis.
It's just this thing right here is what all it takes.
Oh my god!
And I wasn't using that phone before. I was using like a shitty old 7 that had like a dusty camera.
So were you using Adobe Premiere? Like what? I mean, how are you editing?
Everything is on my phone.
Oh my god!
I started off the very early posts. As shitty as it was, Instagram editor, obviously. That was like the first 400 followers.
What are you using now? Lightroom? No, or what?
I use Snapseed.
Okay.
Snapseed kills it. Yeah,
I have that on my phone too. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, Snapseed's the best. But VSCO too. I used VSCO for a really long time. That was kind of like a step up from the Instagram, and I was like, okay, I don't have any control here. I need to like step it up. And then the threshold between going from VSCO to Snapseed like killed the game, because it's like pretty much using Photoshop. It's like you've got not pretty much, but like for what you can do from your finger on your phone, like everything you need. My goal kind of mainly with it was like, I've got a DSLR, I've got Photoshop, I've got Lightroom, I've got all these programs, but the idea of having to lug all these things around, being mobile around the city, like my life is traveling downtown to go to school and then go to coffee, do homework at cafes, which is kind of where the whole Coffee and Kicks evolved from. But like the ability to capture that image, edit that image, post that image from my phone quickly, easily. I mean, relatively quickly. I'm still pushing like 40 minutes a post, which is annoying, but you got to do it. But doing that whole process from the phone is like invaluable. Like I can't explain how good it is just to not have to carry this giant ass DSLR that's sitting like imagine lugging this thing around all day. And then having that on either your back or some extra stuff in your knapsack, which is annoying. I mean, like I already have my laptop, but ideally I don't want to be using it or pulling it out in awkward situations and this whole. So yeah, it's all coming from my phone. It's all it.
I love it. All right, so you have to run in 5 minutes. So I'll have 2 questions.
We can push it a bit further. It's not like it's not hard cut. It's not hard cut. We can keep chatting. Yeah.
So there's 2 things that I want to talk about. The first one's just the most exciting. It's like, we're talking about, I love the granular shit that we're talking about because that's how like I get to know people. And I said that, for people that I had never met before, this is our first conversation ever. Mine is Instagram chats.
Mine's DMs forever. Yeah.
Yeah.
We've been chatting for a long time.
We're Instagram best friends. And so like, when you think like you're still young, bro, so there's like, you're going to live like 8 more lives. Right. So when you think about I truly believe that. I think we're all gonna.
Oh, 100%, 100%, 100%. I agree,
I think that
1,000%.
I mean, Jesus, when I look at the stuff that I did in my first 30 years, it's like, yo, dude, we're just getting started.
Yeah.
And so, like, when you think about big picture, I don't know how much you do or how philosophical you get or kind of like what you're doing it for, but
Yeah.
I just want to open that question up to you. Like, when you look at, like, okay, like where you want to get to right now, or what you're trying to build and what skills you're trying to harness now, what comes to mind? Like, what do you think about when you think that big picture?
I mean, like, at the end of the day, I'm a artistic guy. I want to be able to have a house. I want to design a house. I want it to look exactly the way I want it. I want to shop in the back. I'm a big design guy. I'm big with my hands, like industrial design. Half of it is prototyping, metalwork, woodwork, all these crazy things. I want to have a space to do that. I'm a big car guy. Obviously, I love shoes. Like, the goal is to just be successful, get the things I want to do, just enjoy it while I'm on the process of doing so, and just like what is the most fun and outgoing way I could get there possible. And I think like this is just one step in that whole process. And a smaller goal of that, like currently, like when I started Coffee and Kicks, it wasn't necessarily about getting free coffees or getting free shoes, but that did become a goal of mine because it just felt as like a like seal of approval, like somebody is willing to support me
It was your
because
leverage.
I'm doing something really good, which felt really awesome. So like the coffee shop aspect has been happening a lot now, which is really awesome. People are reaching out all the time, telling me to come by, giving me stuff, which is really awesome to see. But like, that's just in my head. It's just like, wow, like it feels so much better. The fact that people are like acknowledging what I'm doing. And I think that's just, I can project that into the future as well. I just want like acknowledgement in what I'm doing and have success. And I don't know, just it's all cheesy
No, it's not, because
and
you want
everything, but
you say cheesy, I say light, because
yeah.
I think that a lot of people, maybe, I don't want to stereotype your brother, but the analytical one,
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah, no, 100%.
What you do is that a lot of the times I have friends like this too, who they're in, whether it's sales or whatever industry they're in, they're thinking about the micro steps and the
I
micro
don't.
feelings to
I'm
get to,
thinking way.
like they're
Yeah,
thinking free shoes. Okay, in order to get free shoes, I need to do this, and then I need to be on a path. Like,
my
life just does. I mean, life can work that way if you
yeah,
want to, but I think in a life where you're light and you're easy on certain things, it's easier to adapt,
oh,
right?
100%.
It's like, all
Like
right.
what you said. That free shoe step is my first. I'm thinking like whole life is like that. So
And I mean, what I hear, right? When I hear, house, car, shop in the back, I hear you just trying to like architect a life, right?
yeah,
You're trying to architect a life that feels like you. You're trying to, and looks like you, feels like you. It fulfills the vision.
yeah. Honestly, just at the end of the day, I want to be able to just do the things I love.
Yeah.
I want to be able to be comfortable. I want to be able to just succeed and put stuff that I love out there, like
Yeah.
a life that I can kind of just do all of that without ease and without issue is kind of ideal.
I
So
love it.
at the end of the day, like all of this, although it's work and it's like everyone says, do what you love. Like I'm already doing what I love, and I'm only 21.
You have no
And
idea how much of a gift that is, bro.
yeah, I know it's incredible, and people tell me all the time, and I'm just like, how hard is it? Like, how hard is it to just do that? Like, I did
You
it
don't
so
realize
easily.
it.
I wasn't even trying. I
You
wasn't even
don't
trying. I
realize it
just
until
wanted.
you're not doing it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because I mean, 20. When I think about 20, I was. I would think I was working I was delivering fruit on the weekends. I was working for Edible Arrangements. I was
Unreal.
going to college. I think I was just going to college, and
Yep.
I was working an internship at Merrill Lynch, and I was, what the hell else was I doing? Oh, I got fired. I did a summer job where I was basically, like when those kids parties where they have the inflatable slides, and
Oh God. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I was one of the people that had to set up the parties.
Oh boy.
And I remember I was one day, man, I had a rough night before, and I had to be there at 6 a.m. at the warehouse.
Oh
Went to
God.
this kid's party, and I fell asleep on one of the rides.
Oh God.
Get out of here. So
You're
I
done.
say that to be like, that was me in my early 20s, until like maybe 22, where I started to get my
Yeah.
stuff together. So the fact that you're even here and you have like the perspective of what you do, it just,
Hmm.
for me, the pressures of making money, having it in your bank account. Those were the results, right? Those were the things that I felt like, okay, I'll eat shit so that I'll have this money. And it wasn't until I was in my late 20s when I realized money didn't mean shit because I wasn't happy.
Yeah,
you
exactly.
know, that I started to kind of like do more things that I love and do more things that, you know, it's like, hey, like whatever, like it's fine, you
I
know?
think like even with myself, I think I've always kind of had that understanding of like doing what you wanted to do. Like a small example of that was in high school. Like nobody knew what they wanted to do. I knew exactly what program, what school I wanted to go to, how I was going to do it, the steps I was going to take. I mean, like probably like early elementary school, I was like, that's the goal. I have it like written down, like, you know, those
Yeah.
like typical like kid journal where you want to be, like it's written. I'm doing it. Like it's written there. I've seen them and I'm like, that's incredible because I'm sitting here now at school, like loving every second of it. And it's exactly what I wanted to do, which is wild. I think it's just, I don't know how it happened. I don't know how, I think it's just how my brain works. I just kind of envision what I want to do in the future. And that kind of, I'm getting that feeling now because I sort of have this idea of where I want to end up and how I want to evolve Coffee and Kicks into something more profitable, obviously, and more main focus of my time. Obviously, school is number one at the moment, but like
100%.
it's cool to have that feeling because I'm like, I knew that I could do it before. I'm just gonna do it again. I'm just gonna. It's not really laid out per se, and I don't have like a step by step textbook about it, but I just know that's the goal. Always just direct your angle whenever you're doing something towards that goal, which is
So how
awesome.
do you feel? I mean, when I hear something like that, it's amazing, right? Because it's like, okay, like let's get on this trajectory. Let's take this ride wherever it takes us. It's going to take us. And I think that's the attitude you need, right? In order to do something like this. The other side, the devil's advocate question is you know, do your parents support that? How much do you hear other people who are like, dude, go get a regular job. Dude, what are you doing? Dude, like, how often does that seep in, or how often do you just be like, yo, deflect, like you can go that way?
So I think this goes to both ways because I get those what are you doing, like get a job sort of situation. I've had random jobs like any other kid. Not as many, obviously, just because I've been so directed towards what I wanted to do, and I've always sort of made a way. Being an artistic guy, I've kind of just made my own summer job. Like I said, the mural painting, I did that for like 3 years. I was probably making more money than some kids working garbage like sandwich shop jobs, to be honest. Like, and I was working probably two weeks out of the summer, which is hilarious.
Wow.
But I think a huge part of that is my mom's in a creative space already, so there's that footing and understanding is already there without question. I've already got that support. I know my mom had a lot of issues with that because I know she went to school. She did a full degree at one of the local universities, if you know York University. Nothing to do with design. I can't remember the program off the top of my head. But then after that, proving to her parents like I've done my schooling, went to where I'm actually. She went to the same school I did, which is again piggybacking off why I knew where I wanted to go. I kind of wanted to follow my mom's footsteps, but she kind of just had to push her way through that. So I think having that support right off the bat and her knowing the like urge to design and be a part of the creative space is really huge. And then obviously being the third child, like things are kind of a little bit looser. Like the rules aren't as hard. So I'm kind of just like, I'm going to go into design. They're like, okay, yeah, do your thing. But yeah, I think like over the years, I've proven myself to be interested and I've shown that I've taken steps towards getting that as a goal and being really successful at that. So I think I did have that like framework to get started. I didn't really have that kind of backlash, but I do get those comments. Like my older brother, for example, he's always like, "Oh, get a job," like as a joke, obviously, but with a sense of like, "Frick, what is this kid doing?" Like we're busted my ass for years working summer jobs and summer camps, and he's doing nothing. Yeah.
I mean, dude, when you're in, you know, I've always kind of teetered the line between corporate America and kind of like startup world in the tech industry. And I 100% like the startup world more because, you know, there's conversations I have with my friends who are still at JP, who are still at, you know, Credit Suisse, who are at these companies or Goldman Sachs. I remember I sat down with this guy. I was trying to get him to be my client. And when he laid it, like, you know, we had a similar conversation. You got to get to know the person, right? Hey, you know, let's be boys. We could do business together. And just the way that he went about what his journey was going to be in his professional life was so structured. It was so, I pay my 4 years here. I have this measurement. I have this 360 review. If I can go from a 3 to a 6, then I get to this level, and then I can be eligible. It's like, so when you're living life that way, the sense of freedom for me personally just wouldn't be there. I would be so,
100%.
I'm so the I'll show you, I need to break the system and show you you're wrong type of guy.
Yeah. And kind of like learn from my mistakes, which is huge.
And I don't want to feel like I'm caged, but some people love the stability of being in a cage, right? Because they feel like there's less risk. And I mean, I'm like, all the risk. Give me all the risk. Let's go.
Yeah, it's with the personality. Like if you're not down to deal with that, don't do it. Yeah. I guess like you got to be buckled down and ready to go for it if you're going to go for it.
Yeah.
But
well, I mean, I say that just to be like, he's probably secretly kind of like, oh man, like I wish I could just take photos and like make a lot of money doing that.
I'm trying.
I mean, it's just being you. You're just living you, bro. It's like,
exactly. Like
whatever it looks like. I mean, I'm interested. Like I feel like, let me see what this kid's going to look like in 10, 20 years. It's going to be so sick. And I could say selfishly, I talked to this kid when he was like 21.
Hell yeah. This is video proof.
Yeah. I've got the
And this, funny enough, I actually saw a movie. I can't remember what artist was. It was a couple of years ago, but same situation where some guy, he just made friends with him like really early on. And in a documentary about the guy, they were having a conversation saying, I'm going to be able to show people when you're famous. And the guy who actually became famous was like, hey, documentary, in the future, this is going on. And they played that in documentary, and it was the funniest thing ever. Crazy. And I was like tripping.
Recall moment.
This is it.
This is it. No, I love it, dude. Thank you so much. So like, let's wrap it up. I love this conversation. Yeah. Seriously, thank you so much for joining this. This is a lot of fun. 100%. I mean, this podcast.
Do it again. I'm open if you ever want more time.
Hell yeah, bro. I mean, you know, it's funny because I listened to these back, right? The replay to kind of figure out what do we talk about, what do we not talk about, and there's certain areas that I'm like, I should have went a little deeper there, or we should have expanded it there, or you know, maybe I didn't listen and I rushed it a little bit here. So I'm learning, right?
Yeah, no, same with me. Like a big portion of this was like, I'm super interested in podcasts. Like I love listening to them, like running 99.9% of the time I've got a podcast on, and I want to do more of them. So this was kind of just like here's my opportunity. I'd love to start learning how to like project my voice. Like my brain goes quicker than my voice. So like, I'm always getting stumbled up, and it's kind of just like the more you do it, the better you get at it, and the better 100%. Public like speaking you get. So, it was just an awesome opportunity to be able to.
No, thank you. I really
learn, grow. Yeah.
Let's all right. So this is how I end it, right? I'm going to ask you a question. I'll give you a couple seconds to think about it, and I'll just give you the space. So like, you know, based on our conversation, so the way we're doing it, since we're fill in the blank, you're going to fill in the blanks.
Okay.
So discovering the blank in you by listening to the blank in them.
Let me write that down. I'm visual.
I'll say it again.
I'm visual. I need to see it. I need to see it, or else.
I know. You can go as deep or as not deep on this one as you want. So discovering the blank in you by listening to the blank in them. And I'm going to put up for the thumbnail when I put the thumbnail up.
Oh, let me get something in there.
Yeah, go ahead.
Let me get some stuff in there.
Oh, yeah. Screenshot. Boom.
Unreal.
I love those.
And a lot of time and effort in Google searching. Like, kind of a side note to this, but like I'm obviously like no one can afford stuff like that. Like I've gotten most of these either used, beat up, off people through trades, like busting my ass to do these things. Like nothing here is, maybe for the exception of like 3 shoes that I got for retail, 3 or 4, have been easy to get. Like so many hours. Like I've never bought anything off like Goat or StockX just because it's so expensive.
It's so expensive. So it's funny, right? Because
I mean, it's impossible. It's actually impossible.
You do a lot of research. Like this probably took me 2 years of research to get it at a price point and a quality level that I was like,
exactly.
I like love these shoes. Like I like, you know, and I was like, the silhouette's perfect. I want to wear these. Like they're dope. And it took 2 years. I actually got these on Goat. And yes, they were
Correct, yeah.
overpriced, but you know what? Based on 2 years of research, they
Yeah.
were within the range that I felt comfortable.
That you had to pay, yeah. That's exactly what happened with Mars Yards. I literally looked for them for 3 years. They just got more expensive as I looked.
Yeah.
Like I was looking for those. I've been
like ticket prices, like plane ticket prices.
Yeah, you're obviously in New York area. If you know Casey Neistat,
Yeah, of course.
I am the biggest Casey Neistat
Really?
fan. Tom Sachs
I know
taught Casey Neistat. They are like one.
Really?
They project on each other all the time. And like that love started way back, way before people were talking about Mars Yards. And I was like, I need these. I'm a huge, obviously design was huge. Tom Sachs is like one of the coolest artists ever. He's got a super awesome style. And then on top of that, Adam Savage, who is, I'm a maker, I'm a designer. Adam Savage is like the epitome. He's got one of the coolest shops. These three guys all loved Mars Yards. We're in the same, like, I could go on. I could go on about it.
I love, so this is what I want. I want it to, like, it's interesting to hear who are the inspos behind it, right? Who's your Mount Rushmore? I think that's huge when you're talking about creativity, because these are the people that you look like. It's entertainment. Like like how I look at Gary Vee, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, true.
Gary Vee, and I look at kind of the way he's putting out his content, the style it is. That's something that the 21-year-old Rob would have watched, and the 33-year-old Rob watches, because it's like that guy goes through a similar life that I go through. Being a salesperson, being kind of a a manager in a certain area. Those struggles, they're relatable. It's real. So, I mean, that's translated to the inspo on your side too. So the next podcast, we're definitely going to do it in New York. Once this is all over, we'll do it. We'll go to a sick-ass fucking bar and record. Do you drink or you don't drink?
Hell yeah.
Okay, cool. Perfect.
Yeah. Whoa.
I don't know.
What kind of person do I look like? I'm a freaking designer. What do you think this is?
I don't know.
No, I know. That's all good.
Anyway, so fill in the blanks really quick and then we'll wrap this up.
This is tough. Discovering the blank in you by listening to the blank in them. Frick, this is a lot. Holy.
I know. This is how I end it. I've made it so easy the whole way just to put you on the spot on this one.
I love it, but I gotta think about it.
You can go ahead, man. Just off the riff. You don't have to be perfect.
Discovering. I want to try and connect it to what we talked about, which would be cool. I guess that would be like the good wrap up.
Yeah.
Discovering the Frick, I'm not good on the spot.
Don't worry about it. The guy before you completely butchered it, and he changed the whole thing, so it's fine.
Oh, jeez.
These aren't commandments. Take your time, bro. Don't worry. This is the money shot right here. This is it.
Yeah, I know. I want to make it good. I'm
going to put some crazy music here as the edit.
Maybe discovering the passion in, can I say yourself?
Yeah.
Discovering the passion in yourself by listening to the noise of others, I guess.
Okay.
I think that's in others, in them, in others. I guess I changed it a bit.
Yeah, that's okay.
But I mean, like behind that is like just chopping through what everyone else is doing to find yourself and find your pathway and your interests. I think is cool. Discovering the passion in yourself by listening to the noise of others.
I love it. Dude,
that's cool.
That's exactly the podcast.
I tried. I'm thinking about it.
The whole thing is about how we're listening to other people, right? You could call this conversation the noise, and picking out parts of it or chopping up parts of it that relate to your life and something you're like, whether it's an aha moment or whether it's go
the other way.
Yeah, or it's like, oh man, like the way he thought about that was kind of crazy, like that. So yeah, 100%.
Oh yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, bro. Appreciate it. All right, I'm gonna end the recording now.
Thank you so much.
No problem.
Don't leave. I can't say no.